That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Bees of Boxing, where we ask the questions this week. Is DAZN making big moves because they're going to sell? What is going on with some of these fights that are being made? And is Tyson Fury still the biggest shithouse in the world of boxing? These are always questions that we ask of this man right over here, this guy right over there, Steve Swift. Stunning Steve Swift, as it were, this evening. The pugilistic prophet looking very well in his not a Christmas shirt, I must say, Nakatomi Tower Plaza. Although there are some, you have some snowflakes on there, but I'll say it. I'll say it first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen. Not a Christmas movie. Don't care what you think. If you don't like it, comment, whatever. Steve, let me ask you two questions. First and foremost, how are you, my brother?
I'm very well, thank you. Always radiant.
Good.
And yes, it's late here, so I'll be having a malted milk drink after I've had this drink, and going up the Wooden Hill to Bedfordshire, which you can see behind me.
Yes, I can. That looks like it's been a dangerous climb a time or two.
Very much so. Yeah, I'll need a block and tackle later on, or a winch. A stair lift would be good.
There you go. Speaking of who needed a winch, Tyson Fury's opponent. What the hell? Let's start off the week, because was this the precursor of the way that the whole week was going to go? Like, this was the first big fight, of the weekend. You have how it builds, how we do it on the weekends, right? And this seemed to set a tone for the entire week that made me scratch my heads all the time.
Yes, I mean, Marius Vach is how is he? Is he 48? And he's just the thing is, somebody commented afterwards that he looked good, and I thought, when did he look good? When he got out of bed, when he took a dump that morning? Because he didn't look good getting into the ring, and he didn't look good in the ring. He looked like he was frightened to me, actually.
Which don't think weird.
Yeah.
Like, in that situation, you've got nothing to lose. It looked like I thought this might have been the most lackluster looking heavyweight fight of the weekend until I watched Otto Wallen fight on Sunday, and that fight was, oh my goodness. It looked like they were trying to put makeup on each other's faces, nice and gentle, like it was horrible. But let's get back. We'll get to the DAZN stuff here in a second. So Tyson Fury comes out. He does this fight. He says there's going to be not aired anywhere, but it's aired everywhere, and everybody has seen it already, right? Like, what did he really think was going to happen? If he's catching a lot of heat over all of this, rightfully so. What did he think was going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, somebody also said it's a bit naughty of people to share those illegal streams. Well, no, they took their fucking phones in. So confiscate the phones or accept that people will live stream this. And I could have picked up to 30 streams. I picked one, and I was sorry I did. In fact, I was sorry that I picked any stream, because it was a terrible, terrible fight. One of the comments I saw was, it was like two drunk uncles in a parking lot, and I think that was exactly right.
You know what it looked like? It looked like, because even the way that it was, you saw the stream or whatever camera angle that you saw of it or whatever, the nicest one even. What it looked like to me is it looked like two guys setting up a boxing scene for a movie and walking through a fight. Okay, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And there was never any intent, and never any violent intent at all in any of this. It was atrocious.
No, and it was, and really bullshit as well, regarding I want to do more of these. It was like I was at the York Hall back in Bethnal Green. The crowd were really close, and I want to do loads of these. What they did was they pretended it was spit and sawdust, but then when you looked at the turnbuckles, they were covered in Ring Magazine and Seller adverts. So you know what? Those logos are there. So that's where the money comes from. Clearly, it was a sudden decision. Spencer Brown, Tyson Fury's manager, said, we already have 3 weeks to pull this together. So I think they had something else in mind and then thought either it's not selling or is it good enough to have that kind of Anthony Joshua treatment? All of that. Plus, you've got Anthony Joshua the day after. So do you really want to piss on those chips? I don't think you do.
Well, and here's the thing. You talk about the Anthony Joshua thing. And so after you watch the Tyson Fury fight, you're sitting there going, oh, if he shows up for Anthony Joshua this way, he's going to get mollywopped, right? Because you figure Anthony Joshua is just going to go out there and do to Prenga like he did to Jake Paul. And then he gets sat on his ass. What the fuck, Steve?
Can I just say, there are conspiracy theories out there, one of whom is Paulie Malignaggi, who's not said this has happened.
Okay.
But I know. There's a caveat. I'm caveating it crazily all the time. I'm caveating so much I could go blind. But the thing is that he said, on TalkSport, he said, I'm just putting this out there. Was it that Christian Prenga's corner whispered something in his ear, which was kind of, this is not really the script. You're supposed to lose here. If that's the case, Tidster, then that makes Anthony Joshua look even worse. Because what Malignaggi is saying is Christian Prenga went easy on him on the second round.
If that's the case, the only thing they would have been saying to him is none of us are getting paid if he doesn't get back up. Because here's the problem, and I've said this before, and we've seen this happen time and time again. Prenga could have won that fight had he put pressure on him, because we know how Anthony Joshua does not like to get punched and then get pressured immediately afterwards. Prenga hit him in the nose, knocked him down, and then kind of went, all right, I guess I'm good. Shit, I can't do that anymore. Like, did this guy not even at least watch Snatch before he went out there to fight? Like, nothing. It was almost to the point where I could see, and I'm never going to say that a fight, with people at that level are quote rigging it in any way, shape, or form. You're not going to get those words out of my mouth. But if you read my eyes, no. Listen, but what I am going to say is I can see why a lot of people would think that there is a lot of suspicious activities going on with this kind of stuff, because it was never set up to have the kind of script where Anthony Joshua gets knocked down and gets back up again and finishes it in the second.
Yeah. I mean, I thought, and I could be being very nice here, because I am, a British gentleman who's very genteel, and after you, sir, no, after you. I thought that Prenga just thought, fucking hell, I've knocked him down. And I think, but I mean, let's be clear. He knocked him down once. He then made him completely undone on the ropes. And then the referee called a knockdown that I thought might have been a push or a slip. But I think he thought, oh, fuck, I've put him down. And then couldn't not put him down because he was so easy to hit. But then I think Joshua got up, and I think in the second round, if I'm being kind to Prenga, he kind of thought, oh, what do I do now then? I've done it all. What do I do now? And it was almost inevitable. But I have to say that Anthony Joshua said, well, it's not about the getting hit. It is, mate. It's about the getting up. But it is about the getting hit, because he was wide open to that rather nice uppercut. And I saw somebody say he pulled his head. I think it was Paulie Malignaggi. He pulled his head into the uppercut. I didn't see that. I went back and watched it again. I didn't see that. I thought it was a peach of a punch, but I thought that his arms were so wide that you could have got both fists onto that chin.
Yeah. His feet were all messed up. It didn't look good. But in Prenga's defense, though, and this as well as I do, Steve, because there is maybe you're right. Maybe he did hit him and was like, oh, fuck, I've done it all now. Well, now what do I do going into the second round? And you know how it is after you've reached like, ooh, you've gone out there, you've put in the work, you've accomplished all of that. The best feeling in the world is to take a nap. And that's exactly what happened to Pranga in the second round because he's lucky there was ropes stopping him. It was very Jake Paulish. Let's just say,
Yeah. I mean, it was a big punch. He put him down immediately, and then Pranga had that situation where I thought, is he okay? He's trying to get up, and he was so discombobulated that he couldn't work out that the ropes were behind his neck, and he was bashing his head on the ropes trying to get out. I mean, the thing is, he's miles below what we thought Anthony Joshua was. But I've been calling this for a long time, haven't I? I think that Joshua has been a shot fighter in here and on here since he fought Klitschko. I think that being put down twice, and then putting Klitschko down twice, I think that did for him. Not Andy Ruiz. I think it was Klitschko. And he's suspect. He's really suspect. And I think that you also know that I've been saying for ages, I don't want to see a Fury Joshua fight. I don't see the point. What is the point of that? Joshua wants to become a champion. Can you imagine him facing Moses Itauma? He'll steer clear of Daniel Dubois. I think Murat Gassiev puts him down and beats him up at this point because he's a compact, smaller but compact, hard-hitting fighter. I can't see any way to a belt for him because he's a shot fighter. And I know Eddie Hearn said that Tyson Fury was a shot fighter and then said that's a bit harsh, but so is Tyson Fury. They're both shot fighters. He was doing a bit of herky-jerky stuff with all of that, but and people said, look at all those uppercuts he threw in that round. Well, if your opponent is basically saying, hit me, mate, go and hit me. He's not literally saying that. We know that. But if he said, I'm not moving, I'm staying here in front of you, so I won't get out of the way, then you can do that, can't you? But I thought he looked slovenly.
Yes. And it's funny you mentioned shot fighters because that brings us to another fight from this past weekend where we saw Tim Tszyu go out and retire Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. goes out there, and I watched this fight, and I said from the very first punch, I said, I think he's still drunk. I think that Errol Spence Jr., his feet just were not, his back foot was floating. He was not sticking. And then 3 punches later, the commentary team says the same exact thing, right? And they called it. So it wasn't like I was imagining things. What happened to Errol Spence Jr., Steve?
I mean, once you have a break that long, this will happen to Gervonta Tank Davis.
See, that's where everybody's going to go, and everybody's going to say because he was off for that long after losing to Crawford. I'm going to go you one further. I think he was done. I think he was done after the accident. I think after he flipped his car and everybody was like, oh, but look at what he did. He came back and he fought Danny Garcia and he beat Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia was a fucking mental patient at the time, ladies and gentlemen. He was going through his own shit. He wasn't winning any fights. So on paper, that looks really impressive, but Errol Spence was not that guy. He was never that guy. And Terrence Crawford exposed that, in my opinion, saying, you're not that guy. And so they gave him some time off because they figured, well, it was supposed to be him and Ugas, after what he did to Ugas as well, after what Ugas did to Pacquiao. So, the way boxing math kind of works out and stuff. But at the end of the day, Crawford said, no, you're not that guy. And they gave him some time off, and they thought that they were going to bring him back out against Tim Tszyu, who I think Tim Tszyu is a very underrated fighter. I think that Tim Tszyu gets a lot of flack because of his fights with Sebastian Fundora. And Fundora is just a puzzle that is going to be near impossible for anybody at that weight class to figure out anyways. But Tim Tszyu went out there and did exactly what Tim Tszyu needed to do. and he took it to Errol Spence Jr. and he made him retire. And I think that Errol Spence Jr. was just coming back for a money payday out of this whole thing because he should have retired before. What you did is what you did. But after that accident, man, it took it out of you, because I think he got hooked on alcohol. I think that that's when everything just kind of started to, really, really wind down for him. Painkillers obviously could have had a very big factor into the thing. And we know how this can play on a professional athlete at that level. So I don't know what you thought about Errol Spence's performance.
I thought, I take your point, and the leg, I take your point with that, and thought something's wrong here.
Yeah.
But I did think that it was an entertaining fight, and I thought that Spence was in the fight. Now, what does that say about Tim Tszyu? For me, because clearly he wasn't the Errol Spence that we wanted.
Right.
And I think that generally, I think also the feeling with Tim Tszyu is that he's overlooked because he's not really very voluble on the mic, doesn't do anything like that. People haven't grabbed hold of him. He doesn't have someone like Eddie Hearn to speak for him, that kind of thing. So, or nobody does speak for him. So I think it was set up in a way like a sort of, you're the sacrificial lamb here, don't you, Tim? We really want, it's not like a Prenger Joshua or a Vach Tyson Fury deal. It's higher level and more competitive, but really your position is the sacrificial lamb. And he said, hold the mint sauce. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to slaughter him. So he did. No, he didn't slaughter him. I thought Spence was in the fight, and I thought the cards were right, but I thought he was in the fight, and I thought it was a really entertaining fight, actually. But I might have been giving Errol Spence a little bit too much grace, I suppose, too much respect, I guess. I think I was pulled into it like that. But good fight. And now Tim Tszyu has got that career ender. But he needs to push that, because that's fantastic. I'll end your career, son. I did it to Errol Spence, and I'll do it to you.
I mean, he should capitalize on it while he can. He needs somebody, but that there's going to be some log jamming in that division, I think, because you're seeing a whole lot of jockeying for positions. Virgil Ortiz is back. They got to figure that out with him and Fundora. And now there's a new hand in the cookie jar, because it looks like, Steve, DAZN has gone out and they're back to their old tricks, ladies and gentlemen, of signing exclusive deals with fighters. Now, I see you have this smug look on your face, okay, you piece of shit. But I'm here to tell you right now, before you even have anything come out of your mouth, I'm going to mention one name to you. Canelo Alvarez. How did that deal work out with DAZN? Because remember, they've been down this road before, Steve. What is going on? Who did they sign? Tell everybody what's happening.
It's a case of having to do it. It's a case of DAZN having to do it because of what Zuffa Boxing are doing. But I mean, one of the reasons why I'm not a massive DAZN hand, I have a subscription, but I'm not a massive DAZN hand. I don't have the ultimate subscription, but so I'm not a massive DAZN hand, but I really want this rivalry to continue because it's good copy. And, if it bleeds, it leads. So I want them to do this. They've signed, well, it's a strange deal, isn't it? Because Teofimo Lopez has signed with them, but on a no promoter deal. So they have the streaming services, is my understanding, but it's a no promoter deal. So it's not a lock you down deal, which is quite exciting for boxers, I suspect.
Sure.
And then they've come up with the real one, as in real Devin Haney on X. He's don't be pulling that face. He is a very big, he's a big boxing star. Let's face it, big boxing star worth $200,000 on first bits. So
see, you almost got it out. You almost got it out, Steve, without having to laugh about it. Yeah, DAZN signs Devin Haney. Here's what I think. I think that this whole thing, because there's this weird menage a trois going on kind of anyways, right? Because they do a deal with TNT fights, on DAZN, but TNT is owned by CBS, which is Paramount. So there's already this weird kind of synergy already happening. We've seen how stuff like this kind of lays out in the future. DAZN is not looking to sell right now, but what they are looking to do is they are looking for IPO. And we know what happens in the world of business shortly after IPO happens. Then we look to start selling. But if you think for 1 second that if Paramount were to come to them and say, hey, we're going to buy the sports library, we're going to buy all of this stuff up and we're going to take it over, DAZN would jump at that because they're currently bleeding money, ladies and gentlemen. They're losing money. And then they go out and they sign deals like this. To me, this screams of desperation. This screams of Eddie Hearn in somebody's ear over there saying, hey, we need to do this. We need to lock down all of this boxing stuff because Paramount has not only taken boxing, but they've got, what is it? UEFA, whatever, UEFA. I don't know why you guys, you footballers call it.
It's UEFA.
Yeah, well, UEFA, whatever it is. Soccer is for suckers.
The great game of football, footy, jumpers for goalposts. But the thing is, I take your point. It could be a Hail Mary because they have to look good for the IPO. They are hemorrhaging money and have been doing for many years. But the thing is, once you are hemorrhaging money, and the hemorrhaging is not as bad as it was, they've not cauterized that wound yet, but it's not hemorrhaging as much as it was. But when you're hemorrhaging money, you kind of think, well, they feel pretty comfortable hemorrhaging money. Because they know it's a long-term thing. I think
because they've got the same pimp. Both companies have the same pimp. But I think here's how it goes, ladies and gentlemen. Zuffa is the bottom bitch. Zuffa is His Excellency's bottom bitch, whereas DAZN is like, you got to get out there and work. And if you don't, we're going to still treat you good and get you shoes. But make sure that you don't go anywhere. But really, if you want some of these scraps, this is what you're going to have to do. Yeah. They keep DAZN around because, I mean, a pimp's got to have more than one girl.
What the fuck? So you just called Turkey Al Sheikh the bottom, but I did not.
I called Zuffa the bottom bitch. I called Turkey Al Sheikh a pimp.
Well, I'm glad you've clarified that for us because, ladies and gentlemen, let's be clear, that didn't come out of my mouth, and I think you should clip. You've got no, you don't get that. You don't get that, even though it's late in the day. You don't fucking get that. I think you should clip that bit. Certainly, I think you should. Yes, I think that it smacks of DAZN saying, "Look, we can do what you do." You. I think for a while. With the Sunday shows, I think they thought, that's all you do. And I can't believe that they didn't think they would become a normal promoter. They are now, and DAZN are thinking your tanks are a bit close to my house now. They're on my lawn. So actually, I need to do what you've done, which is sign these guys up. The thing is that Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney will have not better time, but it'll be easier to make matches for them with DAZN. Do you not think?
Well, here's where I think that all of it, I think, is a nothing burger, because we're already seeing that Zuffa is softening on their stance of we're not working with other, governing bodies, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, they had Ali's grandson on the program this past weekend. And he was very forthright in saying, like, I'm here for the fighters. I don't give a shit about this Zuffa stuff. I don't give a shit about any of that. I'm here for the fighters. Cool, do it. I mean, you're standing on a mountain by yourself, really, right now, because the boxing world isn't doing anything for you. So that's maybe a bigger question you have to ask yourself, you and Oscar de la Dummy. But I think that Zuffa is softening on their stance because they understand business, and they understand that they can get more honey this way. You know what I mean? So if they will sit down with these guys and say, hey, okay, we'll let you fight for one of these belts. You know, we'll get you that fight for that WBC belt. Because what they're doing is they're figuring out that they can circumvent this stuff. The people that are circumventing, who are going to have all of the power over this, isn't going to be the WBC, isn't going to be the WBA, isn't going to be any of the governing bodies. The people that are going to have the power of all of this is going to be the broadcasters. So you get the broadcasters together. And who did that first? Zuffa. Zuffa did that first by making sure that their company, their home, Paramount, was the lead, was the A side. DAZN becomes the B side, and you can have that in England, and you can have that in Ireland, I guess. I don't know if we got to throw in a second one. Big deal. They don't give a shit, right? But it's a feel good for DAZN too, because their markets are very strong over there. I can imagine. Very good, right? Because not everybody's going to go get Paramount Plus. But I think that is the lead in this. And I think the Zuffa made their muscle known in this. And you're going to find out that it's going to be like, hey, you have a deal with this broadcaster. We have a deal with this broadcaster. Gives a fuck about the belt that you hold. They're going to have to fall in line, because if they want to be broadcast on either one of these or both of these, they're going to have to say yes. This is how they get the job done.
Yes, I think you're right. And it was bound to happen this way. And, you do have, I think it's Spencer Brown saying, well, with the Tyson Fury and Joshua fight, it's Turkey Al Sheikh's money. But actually, that decision will be made for whoever's streaming it. Yeah. It won't be, that American money is not, it's not Turkey Al Sheikh saying, I know. It's the streamers. Absolutely. It's the broadcasters. So yes, I appreciate that. I think that DAZN are happier now that Zuffa have taken off the disguise, and they've gone, you're a promoter just like us. Sure. I thought you were something totally different, but now it's Turkey Al Sheikh. We've admitted it. And I think now they say, oh, you look like us. You're not a weird kind of beast that we don't know what it is, but you look like us, so now we can do business with you. And they will do business with them. How have we got Ryan Garcia versus Conor Benn coming up? Of course, money talks, and the WBC listens, and there you go. It's going to work that way.
Zuffa did well. They had their outing this past weekend. They went outside of Las Vegas, outside of the Apex, the Meta Apex, and they, ran a show at Madison Square Gardens. Not upstairs, but it was still Madison Square Gardens. It was more than I fucking do, So they did a great job. What did you think of the show overall?
It's getting better. Okay. It's and has to, because of Richardson Hitchens and Edgar Berlanga. So it has to. It kind of, I don't think the show itself changes, but I think when you have less storied main eventers, I think the general atmosphere is a little bit more. This is like we're having dinner and we're watching some boxing. It's a bit like that. So I don't know if anything changed, but I just felt a bit more up for it because, and I've been generally a bit down on these shows. Eddie Hearn talks to me and says, "Steve, these shows are crap, aren't they?" And I say, "Yes, Uncle Eddie. Yes, they are. Yes, they are, Eddie. Yeah, touch me there again, Eddie." And I don't say that, obviously not, but because we know each other so well. But I think that as they add more storied fighters, then it will seem it's difficult for them now to keep that wall between this is Las Vegas and this is a Sunday show. And I don't know where they go with Berlanga and Hitchens because they're going to have to break them out. And I suspect Jaya Pataya is looking, because he's on the Conor Ben card, but not for a belt. So he'll be saying, how come he gets a fucking belt and I don't, brother? So, he'll be saying that with just an Australian accent. And I think that he needs to be broken out as well. It is almost if they're breaking out of jail, these big names.
Right? Yeah. And I mean, shout out to Jalil Hackett, who looked fantastic as well in there against a guy who, a lot of people thought was a guy who beat Triple G when he fought him in Derevyanchenko. So I think that there's still a lot of room for improvement, but I think that there was enough to show that they can do bigger shows, obviously. Right. I don't know how much of it was papered. I don't know what the business end of it all at Madison Square Gardens was and whatnot. But on the grand scheme of things, yeah, they put on it's good fights. They've got really good matchmaking. And I think that sometimes can be a curse as well as a blessing, because you want to see some of those fights, but sometimes you get the matchmaking and they kind of nullify each other. So yeah. I think that what they did for their outing for Madison Square Garden was good. I think that they've got to keep the foot on the pedal with this one, because it forces DAZN to do the same. And who wins in that situation, Steve? We do. Fans.
Yes. And what DAZN have done, you might have noticed, is as I said, they've branded because they were doing shows every weekend, which is, that's one of the real pluses of DAZN. Doing shows every weekend. Sometimes you think, who's this? And then you'll have a look at it and say, they become our new favorite fighter. And I've had that, Alan the Savage Babbage didn't last for long, but I thought he was great. Anyway, but they've rebranded it as Saturday Fights, haven't they? So, plus, they have a thing on TNT monthly called The Fight. Now, that's just something I think they would do anyway, but they've rebranded it. That's quite smart. And I don't know what you think about the Sunday shows. Will they become part of the big walks, the big pyro, the big events? Will they put a few of those on there and say, this is our Sunday shows? Or how will they do this?
I think the bigger shows will be, because we're getting away from the pay-per-view model anyways. That's done. But because UFC does Saturdays, I think that they'll probably intermingle. Like 1 week it'll be a UFC, 1 week would be a Zuffa card on the bigger ones on a Saturday night. And then Sundays, I think because they've established that, hey, there's going to be this boxing on Sundays, they'll try to do something silly like bring back the fucking Tough House, but do it with with boxers, with some of these young boxers, and put them in a house and try to get, the new Contenders series and stuff like that. The same model, they'll do the same exact thing that they do with their MMA model. Absolutely.
We have been saying that for a while. I'm surprised they haven't done it yet.
Yeah, they want to see that first year. Get that first year out of the way, and then they'll unleash the next step for them.
Yeah.
Steve, as always, it is an absolute honor. It's an absolute privilege. It is an absolute lesson to be with you, Steve Swift, because I don't know if you know this or not.
Come to the children. Wu-Tang is for the children. We teach the children.
That's the only lesson you need.
That is. We only know two things around here. We know that Wu-Tang is for the children, and that Steve Swift is the sexiest man to talk about boxing. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Chris. He's Steve. If you're out there on the streets and you run across one of us, say hi. I mean, if we don't say hi back, it's probably because we have our headphones in. But if you touch us, we're going to come out swinging. So remember, tuck your chin. Peace.